Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Day In, Day Out podcast. Woo! Today on episode 143, I was very lucky to have Demi Harper on. He is a brand coach, speaker, and podcaster. We talked about a number of different things on a podcast today. We talked about how to build a brand, what sort of side businesses would be good to start. And we also talked about his, how can I say, love-hate relationship for Fiverr as well. I got to say a very informative podcast and yeah, quite a lot of fun. If you want to find out what film he would replace the cast with Muppets, please listen on. So what I would say is please subscribe to the podcast, share it with a friend, and enjoy the show. Have a great day, guys, and enjoy the show. Bye-bye. Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Day In, Day Out podcast. Woo! Today on episode 143, I am very privileged to have, I'm very privileged to have Demi Harper.
Hi.
There you go, there you go. He is a brand coach, he is a speaker and a podcaster. His podcast is called The Unstuck podcast. I'm like my tongue. But how are you today, sir?
I am doing very well, very, very well today. Thanks for having me on. I'm very looking forward to this. This is gonna be cool. I love your energy, man. Like I love it.
You know what? I have to keep up with you, I'm sure. With my bits of research of yourself, I see you're a man of many skills. Like if it's not graphic design or music, you're out there trying to figure out how to catch seagulls with your hands. Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
I do like to experiment on things, so I would be surprised if I eventually start trying to catch seagulls with my hand or any other kind of animal, land, air, or sea, or whatever. It seems like quite a useful skill to catch animals with your hands, anyway.
Well, you know what? If I'm ever in a if we're ever in a situation where we're stranded, like maybe like the Gray or something like this, I'll turn to you and go, yo, Demi, we need to get some food and catch that bird with your hand, or get that rabbit. That's I know I'll be okay.
My moment has come. This is what I've been training for my entire life.
Yes. Okay, I'm loving it. I have to ask, you have been doing graphic design and brand coaching for quite some time now. How did you get started with this all?
Okay, cool. Oh, wow. So I started off with graphic design after after leaving secondary school, really. And I was wondering what to do with my what's next, because I was going on to college. I was like, the highest grades I got were in art, and that was my favorite subject. And it was also music was one of my favorite subjects. So it was either music or something visual. So I was like, okay, let me go and do art. But then I did some research and they talked about graphic design, which they actually sold to me on false advertising, because they were like, do you like to draw pictures of like your family and stuff like that? And I'm like, oh, I do that. I was doing that just the other day. And graphic design has nothing to do with that, but they hooked me in. So I went to college, did graphic design, and I had a knack for it, and I've been doing it ever since. So I went to university, did my degree in graphic design, and then graduated and started working as a graphic designer. So I've been doing it for a long time. But branding came in when I figured, because I was doing a lot of freelance as well. And what part of my frustration was that in terms of like the work I was doing, I wasn't solving there was a deep-rooted problem in terms of, okay, someone would ask me for a website, or they'll ask me for a logo or flyers or a poster or whatever it is. And for some reason, they wouldn't really, I'll give them what they need, but they wouldn't do much with it. So I could give you a website, I could show you how to use the website, but they had no plans. They were just kind of jumping in the deep end and hoping for the best. And I was just like, why is this? And I watched this video called, I think, The Power of Why. It's by Simon Sinek. It's a TED Talk.
I know that.
And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I watched it and it blew my mind. I was like, this is it. This is why my clients are just taking my logos and stuff. I'm not actually doing anything with them.
Mm.
And I was like, you know what? I want to solve problems. I don't want to just give you things. I want to solve your problems. So that's why I started with graphic design and focusing on the whole why people are doing things. And I've been doing that for a number of years now. Consulted a lot of people like freelancers and people that are starting businesses, and especially like Black business owners and stuff like that. Doing workshops, doing talks and presentations, and just doing content. And my whole thing is centered around branding and brand strategy.
Mm.
And that's how I got into it in a nutshell. And everything, I see myself more as a branding coach than a designer. I do design as my day job, but in my spare time I prefer to do the problem solving part of it. So that's the side I push the most.
Yeah, like, you know what, I think with regards to like getting into it and like sort of doing branding, what I often find is, look, I'm wearing a brand right now, Tap Out, like most probably got a number, like one of the four big like trainer companies. You might own a pair of their trainers at some point. But like what I've noticed that people always seem to screw up, even if they're like sort of starting out, is I don't think they kind of understand branding, even though they actually have many a branded item and they are loyal to that brand, but they don't kind of understand maybe also the power of branding as well. I could be wrong, but what has been
you're correct.
Yeah. What's been the running theme you kind of like find with many a person you speak to?
The main thing is that they think a brand is a logo. And that's not their fault. It's what they've been fed. When people speak about that don't know about what branding actually is, they say get your branding done. So people instantly think visuals. They think, let me get my logo done. That's the first thing they figure out. They're like, okay, I need to get my logo done, and then I need to get my flyers done or business cards done. But that is a very, very small picture of what branding is. It's not branding. That's what you call a visual identity or corporate identity. Branding is, as what's his name? Branding is what people say about you when you're not in the room. That's what Jeff Bezos says. And branding is the gut feeling you have. By Martin Neumeyer, he wrote a book called The Brand Gap, and it basically shows you exactly what branding is in a nutshell, and is the gut feeling you have about a person, product, or organization. So as for example, we can talk about a relative or a loved one or someone that we hate, like when they're not in the room, we know what they're like. We can describe them, we can describe their values, we can describe what they look like, we can describe their personality, and there's some kind of connection that you have, and that connection makes you loyal to them or disloyal. You have a brand no matter what you think it is. But I think because of what people have been fed, they think branding is a logo, and it's a very, very, very small part of the whole picture, and that's the main problem I've seen.
Yeah, I think also one of the things I think people get confused with branding as well, if they like, as you say, they look at the logo, but they don't actually, like when they go, I've got like, I need to build my personal brand, or I need to build a brand. Like if you kind of like, for example, if we use Simon Sinek's example of Harley Davidson, like basically it's about like when you go the brand, it's the reputation, which is like the sort of key thing, as you mentioned, like, when what people say about you when you're not in the room, what is that thing, what precedes you, and everything like this. And I don't think there's enough people which, and I say like, it might come down to not understanding it, what sort of really sort of focus on sort of building that up, because I don't know if it comes down to time, ignorance, or they don't think it's the place they should really invest in.
They don't. I think people get focused. Their main focus is deliverables
Mm.
Um, and when you get too focused on deliverables, you're not doing you're not committed to the foundation. So they're basically building a house on sand. And so when people come and say, I need to get my logos done, then I need to get my website done and stuff like that. It's like, let's say I like to give the analogy of a bucket,
Okay.
right? And you're filling up this bucket with water. The water represents the deliverables. This a deliverable would be meaning the thing, the what you receive at the end of a project, what you pay a designer to do, for example,
Mm.
like a logo, flyer, or whatever. And that's what the water represents, right?
Cool.
But your bucket represents your idea or your business or yourself. But this bucket has holes in it, right?
Yeah, Liza.
And
Yeah, Liza. This whole man. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So it's I forgot about that nursery, right?
That's why I'm here, baby. That's why I'm here.
So yeah, this bucket has holes in it,
Yeah.
but it's like, okay, I'm just gonna ignore these holes and fill the bucket up with water. Hopefully, it's not gonna leak, and I'm gonna get what I need from this bucket to transport the water or whatever it is. But your bucket is leaking, but you keep adding more water. So the problem is when people have an idea or they want to launch a product or business or whatever, they are so focused on the shiny thing. They don't want to do the hard work and get their hands dirty, meaning they do not want to fix the hole in the bucket, which means having a strategy and having a plan. So you can add as many logos as you want. You can add as many flyers and websites and you have the best business cards, but that's not going to solve your problem. Your problem is you have no strategy, and that's why you're not growing.
Mm.
That's the main issue that people are facing. And is that the thing is that I saw this analogy once about wolves in the Arctic, how the locals would hunt with them. No, seals. Is it seals? No, how they would kill wolves.
Okay.
So what they would do is they'll get a seal and get a knife, and they will cut into the seal, right?
Okay.
This is very gruesome. They'll cut into the seal and
Yeah.
cover the knife in blood. Yeah. Now they'll leave the knife there, and the wolves will be so attracted to the blood that they'll keep biting into the knife, not realizing it's a knife. And then they'll bite into the knife and they'll bleed to death. That's basically what people are doing with their business. They're bleeding to death and they're just ignoring their problems.
It's like, okay. Wow. It's like, you know what I mean? Okay. Your business is like a wolf biting into a bloody knife. Slowly
But the blood is so tasty, but I'm bleeding. But nah, it's all right.
Okay. Like, have you ever pitched anyone like that?
Nope. No way.
I can see them just like staring at you like.
I might add it to a few slide decks.
It's like, if you did, just like see this. Just like, any questions?
No. My work here is done.
So, with regards to sort of like strategies, right. I imagine they kind of going to vary if it comes down to if it's personal, business, large enterprise, or I don't know, something on like a news brand strategy for something. Like, what would you say to someone who wants to change their sort of career and sort of go into business for themselves, say a small or medium-sized business? I'm just giving that sort of hypothetical. I'm not asking you to give away all your trade secrets. It's like, yeah, Demi, we don't need to hire you anymore because give it away for free. It's like, yeah.
Nah, it's all right. I mean, if they do want to start their own thing, the first thing they need to do is write it down. Just write it down. There's a reason why, like, a lot of people, successful people say write down all your ideas. It's because you're more likely to remember something if you write it down. A lot of our ideas keep them up in our heads, and our head can only have so much data in it. But once you start writing things down, they become more real. They become very tangible. And even if you don't do something with it straight away, you've basically recorded that the fact that you are going to do this thing. Whereas when it's just in the air, in your head, it's just an idea, and an idea is just a thought.
Mm.
I like to say ideas are trash. Everyone has ideas. Ideas are a bunch of nonsense. Execution is what matters.
Yes.
So I could be like, I want to invent the next best flying car. If they even exist in the first place. See what I mean? But if I don't, how am I going to invite this flying car if I don't write it down? It's just going to become a mad idea in my head. So a lot of people, a lot of us, I'm guilty of it too, that I'm like, oh, this is a great idea, maybe I should do this, and I don't write it down. So it's not real, it's just a thought, or the many thoughts you have throughout the day. So like, write it down, and you don't need to always dive headfirst in it. Have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Do research, find out what exists at the moment, and use those products. Don't just assume people will want it. Don't just assume people will buy it, because they might not. That's why it's important to do your research, to actually do some test products. If we're talking about products, or if it's a service, test it out. And don't just focus on your friends and family as well. Like, think about the audience and all that kind of stuff. What I'm saying is do the groundwork. Write it down, write everything down, and take it step by step. That's the first thing. That's what I would advise at first. And that will show that you're committed to the process, rather than kind of jumping head first and then it being kind of messy and you not really getting much experience from it. You get experience from it, but like, you might just get frustrated and just not end up not doing it again. So
yeah, like, one of the things I would say, when you say writing it down, execution is the key.
Yeah.
Because like, I agree. Like, without this saying you're going to do something and doing that something is two different things. It's getting that sort of spark of motivation and like getting things going. Is there been any strategies you've used or have seen from sort of clients which have been like, oh my God, that's been really hyper effective and I should maybe borrow that? I'm not going to say still, borrow that.
Great artist still.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna say great artist still. So
I'm not going to say a word. Like, I know you're a musician as well, so yeah, we can get into that.
Okay, if we get into that, like, I'm telling you, great artist still. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, no,
that's all I'm saying. You can still like an artist. No, that's all I'm going to say about that. But sorry, could you repeat that question? Because I was getting so
look, I can't help it if your criminal mind started to kick in right there. But, as I was saying, like, with regards to like, if it had like motivation, starting something, what sort of strategies have you used or have you seen from other people when, you know what, that's been really hyper successful?
Cool.
Use that myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
In terms of motivation, it's about being self-aware.
Yeah.
Self-awareness is one of the most important things you can have. Know who you are as a person and how you operate best. And this is how I've seen other people do it as well, that because they know what they're like, they know their strengths, and they triple down on their strengths, and they don't worry so much about their weaknesses. So that self-awareness of knowing how best you work. So for example, for me, I know that I work best in sprints, which means that I can do things in portions. If I'm doing things for a long period of time, I get really, really drained. And then I take really long breaks. So knowing that, I'm not going to give myself a really, really long project to do. I'm going to I'm going to split it up into different sprints, different, I'm speaking like a technical person now, different parts, and say, okay, this is what I'm going to tackle today. This is what I'm going to tackle tomorrow, bit by bit, because I know myself. I know how to manage my energy. And that's an effective thing that has helped me be more consistent in that, like, I know how much I can take. So if you don't, you need to also be very, very honest with yourself about how much you can actually take. You want to climb the tallest mountain, but you need to take steps. You can't just jump to the top, like you need to know how best to do it, how best you can operate. Do you need help? Do you need to bring someone else in? If you want to do this by yourself, how can you realistically do that? How much is your time? Are your time frames realistic? Self-awareness is the key.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, self-awareness is the key, which is very true. And like I think it's a case of I think one of the things I think many a person gets tripped up, especially if they're starting, they try to do it all and they kind of not sort of self-aware of where like what their best aspects to the game is. And it might be a case of, yeah, they might be an excellent person on social media, drumming up that
Mhm.
sort of like beat.
Yeah.
They don't really know squat about sort of writing a good article for a
Mhm.
blog. And it's like, you're like, okay. So they don't sort of incorporate a team either quick enough or they
Mhm.
leave it too late.
Yeah.
Um, what would you say, like, with regards to say yourself, like,
Mhm.
are you a one-man band or is it a case of you've now built up a team of people to help you along the way?
Um, I'm personally quite a one-man band.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if there's anything that I need a team to do it, I would. So let's say I was having an event, for example. I know that I hate planning events. Like the little things to make the event like really like special for people, like the welcoming and stuff like that. That will not even cross my mind because I want to focus entirely on the content. So I would bring someone else who I know is good at events and good at those kind of things to on board with me. But everything else, I tend to just like I try to do things. I try to manage them by myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and because I know how much I can manage, I don't take too much on myself. So I like to keep things really simple. And should the needs come where I need to bring in a team, then I can do that. I'm not too proud, you know. Like for example, an accountant, I don't want to do my accounts. I'd rather just pay someone to do that for me and get stressed out for me. I like I've every time I have tried to do my accounts, it has been stress. I do it late as well. So if I could just pay someone to do that, great, like awesome. And if I could pay someone to manage my social media, great. You know, I'm all for outsourcing. Believe me, I am all for that.
You're the bearded Nick Fury. You're saying
Yeah, that's it.
out of its way. I like it. He was like, no, come on, team, come on. Like, take up this mission for me.
That's it. Exactly. I need to get better at delegating, but I truly believe in that you
Mm,
should delegate.
yeah. So I have to ask, like, how did you get into the realm of speaking?
It's quite interesting. I think it's because of my church. The church I go to, they really like encourage people to get out of their comfort zone. So
Mm,
that's the reason why I started playing like the keyboard, you
yeah.
know, and writing music and stuff like that. Is because I was encouraged to get out of my comfort zone. And part of that was actually speaking as well. So growing up in my church when I was a teenager and stuff like that, they encourage us to speak in front of the congregation. So that, and because I grew up around people that were speaking as well,
Mm,
I kind of absorbed their way of speaking. So I've taken that where I might be speaking. So if I'm speaking at an event or putting on an event of my own, or if we're on Zoom, for example, and I'm putting on a presentation,
yeah.
that has helped me, you know. And people don't believe me when I say like I'm an introvert. They really don't believe me. They're like, no, you're an extrovert. And I'm like, I am not. Every time I'm about to go speaking, I die a little inside. But this is a brave face you guys are seeing.
Yeah, just like every time I get out in front of a crowd, I know inside.
It's
So
a,
exciting.
you're looking at a zombie, like, but like because it's also like I'm I'm myself. I don't go up speaking and try to be someone that I'm not. I am myself, and if I'm going to be awkward, I'm going to own it and be super awkward, and you're going to enjoy me being awkward. Like I'm just going to be myself because it's stressful enough getting in front of people and speaking, but like it's more stress to pretend you're something you're not, and that's something I've learned to do. I've
Mm,
learned to be quirky, and that's what I was doing when growing up in my church as well. I'm quirky when I speak in my church. I'm quirky, I'll make jokes, I'll use memes and gifs in the presentation in church just because it's funny. Like,
like you,
just because.
all I
So
can say is, if you're doing a PowerPoint presentation in church, there is a special circle in it. It's like what what PowerPoint in church? There is some that's some kind of cynical evil right there.
That's PowerPoint, as they say. It's PowerPoint is already. I, I hate PowerPoint, but we have to use it in it, so I also make it fun. Yeah.
It's like, praise the Lord. Here comes the PowerPoint. Oh no.
Oh no. Oh, gosh. What's the time?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I didn't expect this, but you know what? Hey, cool. So with your speaking, how many events have you spoken at so far? Is it yeah?
Um, I've never actually counted. It's not a huge amount. Um, like I've spoken at a few like church events where they're one in particular was really interesting. Actually, I did a branding workshop for teenagers,
Okay.
and that was really interesting.
Oh,
Very,
how so?
very interesting. Because I had never done it for young people before.
Mm,
But young people have the craziest ideas.
mm,
And in this workshop, we give an example. We teach you what branding actually is, and we then get you to split up into groups and talk about a brand idea
mm-hmm.
using the rules and the lessons I've taught you, and you come up with like an idea. I pick two random words from Google. There's like I use a word generator and two words, and out of those two words, it could be like reflective boat. And then you like have to think, okay, what kind of business is that? And then use branding to come up with a business idea from that. And these kids thought of the craziest ideas, and I was like, I want to go to that bar.
Yes,
They thought of like a bar that when you go in, I don't know why kids are thinking of like bars, but anyway, no idea why in the
don't
church setting.
ask
But
the
anyway,
question, and they will not lie to you. That's what I got to simply say.
So they thought of like for entry, they give you like 3D goggles, and there's like patterns on the wall, and it's like really psychedelic. I think it was called psychedelic chameleon or something. So when you get into this bar, you wear these glasses that make all the patterns pop, and then the drinks are themed around the psychedelic kind of theme as well. I was just like, wow, you kids are creative. That was really, really fun.
Okay, yeah, no, that sounds
That's
great.
yeah. You're thinking, okay,
Yeah,
I'm about to start this. This is a business idea right here.
it's a business idea, but like I have to be really selective with the location. That's what I want to say.
Well, yeah, I've done a few of those. A few times I've gone on Zoom and given some presentations. Sometimes I tailor it depending on the audience. So at the time I was speaking to it was for a women's meeting, and it's about women that want to start their own business. So I tailored a presentation of why you need to start a side hustle, why it's important to have a side hustle. So it just depends. Like every now and then, my main focus is like building my community as well. But like I'm always open to do more speaking and more podcasts and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah. And with regards to a side hustle, what would you say, like, if you were, for example, like now we're sort of going back to work in the UK, thankfully, and basically, like, time is going to be maybe less and less as a luxury as it's been over the last sort of year and a bit. Like, what would you say would be a good side hustle for someone to say start in like 2021?
A good one, if it depends on what your skills are. So if you're good at making things, you can start an Etsy shop. I know someone that she does jewelry.
Okay.
On Etsy. You could consult. So if there's something that you know a lot about, if you're good with numbers, you can consult. Like if you're good with finances, you can do finance consulting. if you're good with like for example, something that a lot of people are doing now is like really small event decor. So people that want to have an intimate birthday party, that's a good side hustle some people can actually do. It gives them something to do on the weekends and stuff like that.
Mm,
Some people they're good at flower arrangements. Like you can do anything as long as you're realistic about the time that you have.
mhm.
Just knowing how much time you actually have after work and stuff like that. It's not easy. It's not going to be easy to juggle the two. But if you find your sweet spot, it can be very, very rewarding.
Mm, yeah, like no, I can imagine because like this is the thing. I like one of the things I would say, um, I think might be cut like has kind of sort of come back a little bit with a vengeance, with kind of side hustles, kind of like blogs have been coming
Mhm.
back, and like the sort of freedom it gives. Like you can do a blog literally anywhere,
Yeah.
as long as you've got a laptop, tablet, or even a phone.
Yeah.
If you want to do it that way, I wouldn't do it that way myself personally. I think that's just more torture than it's worth. But yeah,
Yeah.
um, would you say like would you say people starting blogs or hey even a podcast would be
Mhm.
down to doing this in the right way or whatnot?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I'll always encourage someone to have content. Content is so key. It's like content is king. It's still king. Like we're getting more and more platforms, and you can be even more creative with content now. But if you are an expert at something, you could be an expert at taking care of guinea pigs. You can start a guinea pig blog. You see what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's whatever your area of obsession is, you can start a blog in that. And if you're not good at writing, but you're good at talking, start a podcast.
Mm.
If if you have a camera, start a vlog. And don't do it because you want to be like super famous or whatever. Just do it because make it fun for yourself.
Mm.
Otherwise, you're gonna really, really frustrate yourself. So if you're writing a blog and you're like, oh, no one's visiting my website, blah blah blah, which you're fine to be frustrated about, but do it because you enjoy it. I don't blog because I don't enjoy writing.
You're right. Um,
Yeah, but I enjoy podcasts.
yes.
And there's a part of me that's doing video. I'm learning to enjoy video.
Okay.
I'm learning to enjoy video. But my sweet spot is the podcasts, like audio form. So I'm not the amount of times I've blogged and I just dropped it because I don't enjoy this. I don't enjoy the process of blogging. So,
Right.
but I'd rather if I have a podcast, um, you can outsource the content of your podcast into a blog.
Hmm.
So you could actually get people to actually write what you've said in the podcast into a blog. You can pay them to do that.
Would you say that it would be an expensive service or is it
It can be. It can be cheap. Okay, so there's the thing. Like, we're gonna go on to Fiverr that territory. I have a very strange relationship with Fiverr,
okay?
Fiverr.com, right? Uh,
No, no, like, look,
okay.
I'm just waiting for
So
the story to
for
come
for
out.
those that don't know, Fiverr.com, Fiverr with two R's on the end, is a kind of freelance website
Mm,
where you go on and you find um creatives or services for cheap, right? So you can actually find a logo there for like 50 quid or less, or you can find someone to do voiceovers for really cheap, or you can find someone to write articles for you, anything really.
yeah.
Now I'm not totally against Fiverr as I used to be. I used to be like, burn it to the ground. I hate Fiverr because for me as a designer, I feel like, they are very disrespectful to the design community
Hmm.
in terms of their advertising, but it has its uses. Um, if you're looking for something quick, and you're not too bothered about the quality, I would say go on Fiverr. So there's a lot of people that I've actually told. I started telling, if you can't afford a logo, go on
Yeah.
Fiverr and get something done for the meantime. Now you get what you pay for. So if you want someone to convert your podcast into a blog form and you pay really cheap for it, remember you get what you pay for. So don't expect the best blog in the world. Gets Expect something that does the job but might need some tweaking.
Mm,
Because a lot of people on Fiverr, they do it as a side hustle as well. It's like hobbies, and so just bear that in mind. Of course, you can actually go onto other websites that are specifically for those things. So if you want to voice over someone to record an intro for your podcast, for example, and you want the best of it, there are dedicated freelance websites for that as well. You pay more for it, but it's better quality. So it depends on what your expectations are.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you know what? Like, I was expecting it to be like, yeah, a little bit more like,
I have matured I'm a lot mature than I used to be, because I used to hate Fiverr. Oh my gosh, because I saw an advert basically that they still do it today, that they basically trample on agencies and trample on people that charge a premium rate for the work. And they make them look like they're basically just bougie people that are just charging what they do for the sake of it. And they're really like, it's really disrespectful. And they say, just do it get the logo done for £50 or get your website done for £100. And I'm just like, from my experience, that is not a very good idea.
Yeah, like, look, I can understand like someone if they're starting out raw, like, you know, I like they look at their bank account and the bank just simply goes,
it's like, nah, babe.
You're gonna have to make choices, like eat, get to work by bus, or that, like, yeah, or pay that bill. All I've got to simply say is you best think about paying that bill, or and figure out how you're going to get to work some other way. I can understand why someone would start with Fiverr on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Level. But like, if there's someone who's established, they've been around for some time, and they've got a little bit of funding behind them, like they should know they've been in the game long enough. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, oh, wait a second, I need to have everything, everything on point to basically help me encourage more people to join. Not kind of like, okay, Dante, some 14-year-old in like the sort of like realms of Seattle, who, like, you know what I mean, just he is okay at graphic design, but no, it's like, it's kind of baffles me on that side of things. But
but they don't know. People don't know. They just like, they just don't know the difference in value that they're getting. So that's another thing that you have, if you're just starting off. That's why I say manage your expectations, because if you want the best of the best, it has to be an investment.
Yeah.
You have to pay for the best stuff. But if you actually just want to give yourself that little push, then by all means, go get something quick done. But you're going to have to get it done again. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. No. So with like, you've been in the realm for a number of years, and like, look, you've seen how branding's gone and how it's like evolved and changed. Like, and like things have been kind of hyper accelerated over the last year or so. What has been sort of the major change which has surprised you so far, would you say?
How people really have accepted audio in their branding, and it still has a long way to go, but audio form is really, really picking up right now. You have, for example, Clubhouse. And you know, with Clubhouse picking up so quickly, and it was because of lockdown, because a lot of attention was ready, it was there. And what Clubhouse did, they basically took advantage of the environment we were all in. We were all at home, we were all on our phones, and we needed community. So Clubhouse got released, and people were just going on it. Even people that didn't have an Apple product. I'm on Clubhouse. I don't have an Apple product. You see, well, not primarily. I don't have an Apple. I don't have an iPhone. So I made sure I got my hands on one so that I could join Clubhouse. I know he's looking at me that way. See, y'all, he's looking at me. He's looking at me in that way.
He's like,
we'll get onto the Apple thing, but like, Clubhouse is an example of how people are very, very obsessed with audio at the moment. Even Twitter has Twitter Spaces now, thanks to Clubhouse. Facebook is doing a version of Clubhouse. everyone's going to be having that kind of audio space. And even before Clubhouse, podcasts, more and more people are listening to podcasts nowadays. And when Spotify started focusing on podcasts, that's why I was quite surprised. I was like, oh, that's a really good move from Spotify. Now I only listen to podcasts on Spotify. I used to listen to it on like other platforms.
Yeah.
But I only listen to it on Spotify now because my music and everything is there. So that's one thing that has really surprised me. In that audio picked up in the way it did, and it's still going to be growing because people haven't mastered the audio space yet. So they're only just talking about taking payments through audio now, but like brands need to really pick up on audio. Smaller brands have it down, excuse me, they have it down, but like bigger brands aren't really, they're so focused on things that we were talking about 3 years ago that they're kind of behind. They're like, oh, let's just do videos, but it's like, no, we have other senses, we can hear. So like brands that aren't picking up on the audio, that don't have a podcast or aren't maximizing on audio, it are really, really dropping the ball, I think.
Yeah, no, like this is the thing. I think, large brands are kind of dropping the ball with many aside like things with regards to how they can do a strong strategy going forward. Like, they are catching up with on video, and like, yes, they are getting into the podcast space, but I don't think they still kind of get how it can be sort of interconnected, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, so, they don't understand it.
No. So I would simply say people who are like sort of small or medium size and like they trying to forge their way and they go, oh, it's harder. Yeah, it is harder because there's a lot more noise in the mix, but there's still a chance and there's still a way to get through. So I'd say, anyone out there who is thinking about doing stuff online, don't lose heart. Like, stay strong, stay in the fight. But before I like go on a motivational tangent, so iPhone, Clubhouse, what's that about? Come on.
Okay, all right. So Clubhouse is only available on iPhones, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you don't have a iOS device, you can't access Clubhouse. You have to have an iOS device to do it. And that's one of the shortcomings of not having an iPhone. You can say all you want, right? I am the biggest Samsung fan, but you can say all you want about Samsung. The first products, the software is primarily going to be designed and built for iPhone. Because there's a lot more. Their approval process is a lot more strict than Android. So that's the shortcoming. So I experienced that when it came to Clubhouse because I was really curious, but I couldn't get onto Clubhouse. You see what I mean? So I had to find other means to get on it. But that's the thing. Apple has done so well with their branding in that they have an exclusivity effect. When you feel like when you have an iPhone or you have an Apple product, you feel like you're part of an elite club. What's so funny, what's so arrogant about Apple fans, is that they do not call their MacBooks laptops. I have a MacBook. It's not I have a laptop. It's I have a MacBook. You don't have a MacBook? Oh, you don't have an iPhone? Oh,
I feel sorry for you.
I feel sorry for you. You lesser being. Peasants. What? It's just, they're just so good. The branding is so on point that they've made people so loyal that they don't call their laptops. They don't call their iMacs computers. The closest is an iPhone, which is a phone. But like if they call it something entirely different, they're not going to say I have a phone. See what I mean? The branding is so on point that people are loyal. They will queue up for 2-3 days to get the exact same phone the next year.
Yep. Yeah, like yes, I've seen this. I've walked down Regent Street. I've walked past like Covent Garden, and like I've seen like many a person queuing up for the latest iPhone. And look, there is times, and I'm going to say this because I don't want you to say this in case it might block you from any brand working with Apple or anything like this. There's times where you want to grab them and go, stop it now. Shake them. Stop it. It's a computer. Leave it be. It's the same phone as last year. But something what ties in with like apps with regards to the reason why many apps go to Apple first.
Yeah.
It is a longer process, but because there's such a standardization.
Yeah, exactly.
Across the board. Because look, you've got a Samsung phone. Mm-hmm. I've got a Samsung phone. And like basically that's just one brand. Like, look, forget. That is, I've got an A55, like 52, sorry, phone. I don't know. What's your phone?
S8 Plus.
S8 Plus.
S8, yeah.
Yeah, I did have the S8 before, but like, that's two different, like, that's three different phones right there. And across Samsung, there's something like 17 different phones you can have on Android. That's just Samsung. And then if you're going on Huawei, so many. And Apple, it's like, you've got, you know what camera it is across pretty much the last 6 years. And like, that's the reason why it just is easy for an app developer to go on to Clubhouse. So with your experience and like, well, how did you get your phone?
You know what's so funny is that
which poor family member did you mug?
I bought my phone. Like, I've just always had Samsung. I've just never changed. My friend gave me his iPhone when I was in university. I needed a new phone, and he gave me his iPhone, and I did not like it. And it's when I say that, people are like, "What? How can you not like it?" I'm just like, I just did not like it. Like, and I'm not a hugely technical person, but like when I'm looking at something, I will look at the specs. I will always look at the specs. And every time I wanted to upgrade my phone, I've just stuck with Samsung because A, it's familiar to me.
Yes.
And B, I look at the specs and I'm just like, I'm gonna stick with Samsung because like it's cheaper and, and the specs are on par. So like, but the thing is that me saying that, I could get crucified because people are just like, oh, but your Samsung, the quality of stuff isn't good. The picture isn't great. I'm just like, you guys do not know anything about technology. Like, if I told you the computers and everything are made by the same company, would you be surprised? But it's the allegiance. I don't have that allegiance. I could change my Samsung to another phone if I find that phone is better to me, like, because I'm quite technical.
Yeah.
I'm not saying technical people don't have iPhones. I'm not saying that. But what Apple has done so well, I find Apple in two different brands, but Apple and Nintendo are very similar in the way that they've taken themselves out of that kind of competition. They've made their own path, and people that are in that kind of community are staying in that community. Nintendo is really, really annoying me at the moment because they're not releasing any games. But as soon as they drop the next Zelda or the next Super Mario, I'm buying it. I'm spending my money on it, and it's never going to go down in price. The same game that came out 3 years ago, it's still £60. Nintendo and iPhone are the same. iPhone, they'll charge you an arm and a leg for a phone or a product that's not much different. They are very sexy though. I ain't gonna lie. The new iMac is sexy. But see what I mean? But like, they've made it so easy for people to understand them. They made it so easy. They're not gonna say, oh, these are the specs, blah, blah, blah. That's not the thing that they're gonna say at first. They are gonna talk about the experience of using their product. And then they'll go into the details. And then you have that fear of missing out thing. Like people online on Twitter, they're like, what color of the new iMac am I gonna get? Oh, I'm gonna get red, I'm gonna get purple, blah blah blah. And I'm just like, wow, you guys will take out a loan to get these things and not have a plan. And that's how powerful their brand is.
Now, what I would simply say to anyone who's looking at the new iMacs, which just came out last week, like if you're doing it on a professional level, don't touch that. Don't look, don't touch any of them. Like, you'll be better off getting the iPad Pro, the new one, because they're going to bring out a Pro iMac later this year, and what they brought out this time around, no. it's like going, just don't do it. You just be throwing your money away. And look, I can feel your pain because like this is the thing. You're a branding coach, and like the whole thing is you look at Mac products, Apple products, and you're like, man, it doesn't make sense with the spec. No, no, can't do it. Like, I can feel your conflict within you. I'm getting a real big Star Wars metaphor coming on. Like, come on. You're like, the branding's so good, but the specs don't match up.
The specs. But also, to be honest, like, I do like MacBooks.
Yeah.
I do prefer MacBooks to a Windows laptop, for example, because of the little things.
Yeah.
And that's what Apple has gotten really, really like down to a T, is the tiny things. For example, the gestures are a lot more smooth. The touchpad is, the quality is a lot better. Because I have a MacBook and I have a Dell. The Dell is also pretty good, like with the specs.
Okay.
It's actually really good, and I've had it for years, and I haven't needed to change it because I know how to take care of my stuff. But the experience of using the MacBook Pro for me has been a lot better because it's just a lot smoother. The little tiny little things that a lot of companies don't think about because they don't think about their target audience, don't think about their ideal audience. A lot of people don't want to be thinking about, oh, this is the specs, this is the RAM, blah, 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 blah. Apple will just give you different tiers. Say, this is tier 1, this is tier 2, this is tier 3. Which one do you want? That's it.
Just like, yeah, there you go.
So that's something they've gotten really right, and that's why they're successful.
Yeah, I totally understand. So going, like, we've gone completely around the houses.
That's all right.
I know, but like, it's all cool. So what, like, okay, because I look at Clubhouse and like my good friend Lillian, who I've had on the podcast before, must get her back on very soon. She sent me a Clubhouse invitation, and like, I don't have an iPhone, and like, my iPad Air is the first generation, so it's just outside of that loop, and like, so I most probably be looking either at the iPad Air, this year's one, or the iPad Pro, depending. That's like basically, when you said, people going like, don't. I looked at you and went, I feel like the universe might be judging me for that statement. But so I haven't sort of partaked in it. And like, they're like, on my part, it might have been a little bit of FOMO, but I've kind of like looking at it now with like sort of other sort of companies coming in. You mentioned Twitter and you mentioned Facebook.
Yeah.
I
hate Facebook too.
Well,
it's the worst app.
Well, you got to work with it because it's kind of a necessity.
Yeah.
Hey,
unfortunately.
Better the devil you know. I'm beginning to think, do you think it's got enough legs to stand by itself, or is it going to be something which is going to be attached to just say another app?
Well, Clubhouse.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's got enough to stand on its own. It'll be interesting to see how it gets affected with people going back to work. But I think it has enough of a fan base to keep going. Because a copy is always going to be a copy.
Yeah,
it's always going to be a copy. I don't use Snapchat anymore, but there's people that are still using Snapchat because
people are.
Instagram is people would have thought Snapchat, because when Snapchat refused to sell to Facebook, that's when they copied them. Anything that's successful, Facebook is going to copy. So I wasn't surprised when they're trying to make their own Clubhouse as well. Like Instagram Reels is cool and everything, but TikTok is so much more entertaining. A copy is always going to be a copy. So I think Clubhouse is always going to be the place for the audio space. I don't see it dying. Especially when they've I just saw it as a tweet, so I haven't looked into it completely myself, but they did commission a Nigerian girl to do the Android version of the app. So like when it does open up to Android eventually, because they will, it's going to grow even more because the majority of the world uses Android.
Yes, they do.
So when it opens up to that, it's going to open them up to a lot more kind of teething issues, but the app is only just going to explode even more. So, and people will come back to it because there's those that needed to get a second phone just to use it, to get curious and be like, okay, let me just install it on my Android. I'll install it. Like, I don't use it often. Like, I haven't logged on into Clubhouse for a long time, but like there are people that are still having these amazing conversations on Clubhouse, and that's the thing. Clubhouse is always going to be the place for it. I've looked at Twitter Spaces. Twitter Spaces is cool and everything, but it doesn't have that exclusive feeling. Clubhouse, it has a very more intimate feeling, intimate kind of environment. Even though it's like with complete strangers and stuff like that, it still feels quite intimate because it's like, I've made this room and I'm letting people in to talk about these things. But Twitter, you feel a bit less. It's a bit more like it's too open. You don't. I'm less likely to talk about something that's really like personal on Twitter than I am on Clubhouse.
Oh, yeah, you got to be careful on Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter is full of demons. So, yeah.
No, I would say Twitter, for me, it's like the insane asylum, just basically kicking off. You just, wherever you freaking turn, it's like, oh, okay, what's going on here? It's like there's a small group of sane people like, come over here quickly. And then we kind of walk over and go, are you sane? Then it turns into scanners and they just point at you and go,
yeah.
Try to stay off Twitter quite a lot.
Yeah, for your mental health sometimes. I love Twitter and I hate it at the same time. It's just like it's something. It's really something. Every time I'm like, I'm gonna come off Twitter, I see a funny tweet and I'm like, I love Twitter again.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean? I did see someone catching a seagull in there.
Yes.
I was like, what on earth? You're looking at it going, what is this? Seagulls are going, I just wanted a chip, mate. How the hell? Other seagulls around that going, wow, he's good.
Oh gosh.
So with regards to you, like we've been talking about like audio and Clubhouse, but yeah, your podcast, like you're on episode, is it 59 or 60 now?
Something like that. I think I'm coming up to 60.
Yeah. So you've gone past the sort of five and die sort of realm. Because it's podcast number 5 and I've got 3 listeners. It's like, okay, how's your podcast going? It's been 6 months. I haven't recorded since. So yeah, you've gone past the 5 and die. And like, like what has your experience been with like the realm of podcasting?
Wow, it's been a commitment. It is like, boy, it has been rough. It's been a rough experience because like you're recording all this stuff and it's because when you start, you're still trying to find your voice. I've changed my podcast name like 3 times now.
Okay.
Like this is the 3rd name. Before it was the OJ Harper podcast. Yeah. Then it was the Demi Harper podcast. Then I was like, no, I can help people get unstuck. Now it's the Unstuck podcast. So like even me, I'm still trying to figure it out. 60 episodes in, and while I'm doing that, sometimes I look at my stats and I'm like, I'm not getting as many as I want to. But you can't look at that and get discouraged because you're still you're worrying about all the millions of people that you're not reaching. But what about the 1, 2, or 3 people that you are reaching? So my focus is to give value to the people that are listening. Because the funny thing is, sometimes I meet a new person and they're like, yo, I like your podcast. I'm just like, you listen to my podcast? Like, what the heck? You've never tweeted me. When I ask you to use the hashtag, you don't use the hashtag. You just listen and then you go. So you're a ghost listener, but you're listening. So I'm just like, there are people listening. So I might as well give them value, because if you give them value, they'll suggest it to someone else and it's going to grow eventually. But it's just like, it's such a test of patience. Like I do things in seasons, and I allow myself to take breaks because I get burnt out. I used to do it weekly. I used to do it every week without fail. And it's only recently that I started doing it every 2 weeks because like boy, it's such a commitment, and because I'm doing a lot of other stuff as well, I
Yeah.
need to operate at my best capacity. So because I'm doing less, I can now do more.
Mm.
So and again, going back to the introversion part, like I am an introvert. So before I invite someone on my podcast, it takes me a while to actually gear myself up to actually invite them to the podcast.
Mm.
But like but when I get into gear, I actually have a list of people that are coming. I've said that they're gonna come. And they never say no.
Uh,
So it's the thing of like just learning about yourself, and I've learned a lot about myself and how I can actually hold a conversation and
mm.
how good I am at like interviewing people. I'm not even necessarily calling it interviewing, but like just kind of steering the conversation and asking the questions that are like that my listeners want to hear, not
Yes.
just being like, oh, how did you start, blah blah blah. I'm just asking them in like questions that I myself want to know, but I feel like someone who is a creative would want to know. My previous guest, she was a finance expert, and I was asking her about, we ended up talking about family in a finance episode and how that affects you in your decisions when it comes to finance,
Mm.
your environment and those kind of things. When we think about finance, for example, we don't think about that. We don't think about our own story. And that's what I tried to get out in my podcast. What are what am I offering to the few people that are listening? You know, but it's been a good experience. It's very rewarding. It is so rewarding to have a podcast. I really love doing it, and I will commit to it. Like if I've started doing video as well. I've figured out a way to finally do video as well as the audio in a way that works for me. So
Yeah.
I have a system here. Like I just have my camera to my left, my mic right here. All I need to do is press a couple buttons, and I record both at the same time. And it's not even that. It doesn't take that long.
No.
So it's kind of it's seamless for me, but I've allowed myself to grow. So a lot of people, when they start a podcast, they want to grow so quickly, but it's about the marathon, not the sprint. You have to figure yourself out and what works for you, and then carry on doing what works. It's trial and error and being consistent and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, no, no, I agree. I agree. I would say one of the things which sometimes people get caught up with when they see people who've like, oh, I've just started a podcast. I'm getting 30,000 downloads. And it's like, I'm like, whoa, wait. Who's the person you're looking at? Yeah, it's that comedian over there. It's like, okay, now let's just say, let's have a look at their Instagram and see what they're
Mm,
working with. Let's look at their Twitter, see what they're working with. Oh, they've got 20,000, like they got 20,000 people on Twitter,
mm,
100,000 people on, rocking on Instagram. Yeah. And they get consistently high engagement.
yeah.
They're playing, like they've played a long game down the road, like much earlier than you have. Like
Yeah.
starting from fresh, starting from scratch, you're gonna have to be here for a good long minute. And
Yeah.
when I say a long minute, not a year, not 2, not even 3. You might be playing this game for 5 years before you like,
Mhm.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, success has come. And like this is the thing with regards to finding a voice. Like one of the things I would simply say is, yeah, when like podcasting for myself and everything like this, yeah, it's a skill you've got. It's a skill you pick up and you then work with. When you first start anything, yeah, you're going to be not that good and your skills are going to be way off kilter. But
Mm.
every time you do a rep, and that is doing an episode, yeah, you get that a little bit better. Like, yeah, everything goes that much smoother. You understand things a little bit more on the technical side. And yeah, you like grow that little bit in confidence.
Mhm.
Me, like, look, when let me tell you something. When this is like my first podcast I ever did, like was me, like sitting with my phone, like recording it, just like, hello, this is me, right? This is the Day in Day Out podcast.
Yeah.
Kind of weird, just talking on the phone, and like I did 4 episodes of that, and was like, I know I cannot do a podcast with just me waxing lyrical. No, got to get out of this insane madhouse. First interview I did, which wasn't someone I knew, I got to say everything went wrong. Everything what you can imagine can go wrong went wrong. Like I recording with Skype and like yeah, Skype OBS and like uh, so many moving parts. One got it working on my like on my laptop, got it working on like a tablet. I was like going yes, no problem. Soon as this gentleman Liam like was trying to call in, yes, Skype was like no, OBS was like no,
Oh
not
man.
working properly. It took like I'm there for about 20 minutes before I had to like, oh, sorry, it can't work. And he's like, no, okay. Because he did podcasts, he went, yeah, I'll record it. I'll take care of it. I was like,
Oh wow.
yeah. I was like, okay. And like, it just was like, yeah, what I learned from that, I tried using Skype 3 more times. Never use Skype. Never ever use Skype. It is an evil program. It's not good. And yeah, like as much as you want it to burn down Fiverr, I want it to burn down Skype. It's like, yeah, yeah. And then like just for the like just when I discovered Zoom, like the whole world discovered Zoom about it made my life infinitely easier.
Yeah.
But look, you're 60 episode, like you're like 59, 60 episodes in.
Yeah.
I'm 140 in, and like look, that was like I was put on furlough like for the pandemic, and I just
Mhm.
went at it. So okay, while I can,
Yeah.
let me get as many episodes done as possible. And
Mm.
I've got to say, like yourself, like yeah, the amount of growing I've done and the amount of people I've met. I've had the opportunity to meet 140 plus
Wow.
people I've never actually would have spoken to. I may have like come across their path, but like spending this sort of like a good quality amount of time to have a conversation. No, not so much. It might be a case of okay on LinkedIn, like see you there and go okay, maybe
Mhm.
okay, connect.
Yeah.
That'll be it.
Yeah.
And then move on my merry way. And like you
Mhm.
might be like, accept, but that would be as far as it went. But yeah, the
Mm.
opportunity to speak, grow, and yeah, has
Yeah.
been so rewarding for me as well. Just to say.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very rewarding process because you put your blood and sweat and tears into it, and
Yeah,
to have it out there and know that people are across the world and listen to it.
yeah,
I was looking at my stats, and my primary listener base is actually in the US, and I never expected that.
yeah.
That's insane to me. But your people from around the world are listening to you, and that's for me, it's very encouraging and very rewarding for me.
Yeah. No, the weird thing about podcasts, it like in the UK, like they like people hear the word podcast throughout the whole UK. But I would say it feels like only about 20 or 30% of the population actually know what a
Yeah,
podcast is. And
yeah,
which is like kind of mind blowing. And I'm not talking, oh yeah, like oh, like that's across all age groups.
yeah.
It's like right, oh, it's a podcast. What's a podcast? Well, it's kind
Yeah,
of like a radio show. Okay. But what is it? Okay. This is going to take a little bit of time. But like, yeah, with yourself, when you say you changed your name 3 times, like people have, that's the thing. You have the power to make it whatever you want it to be.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's what it is. And even in the UK, we're only scratching the surface. It's only recently picked up, but it still hasn't picked up. Like there's it is like small pockets of people that are listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
A group of people that are doing podcasts really well are Black women. They are owning content in general, but like they are owning the space of podcasts.
Yeah. Like
It
another,
is very good to see.
yeah, another space like where I've seen on my LinkedIn network, like they're owning Clubhouse as well.
Yeah,
Like
they're
I,
having all these conversations. Like
yeah,
they have they have so much like experience and a story to tell, and they haven't always been able to tell their story. They especially Black women, they haven't had the freedom to tell the story in their own way. So podcasts have really helped them. If you look at like the receipts, for example,
Mm.
I've been listening to them since they started, and now they're releasing a book thanks to the podcast.
Okay.
So, like, they are really, really owning the space and the content space in general, and their community is extremely loyal to them. I think for so a lot of like black women are listening to podcasts, but one thing that I'm trying to get at is not that black men don't do podcasts. For example, I know there's plenty of examples of black men that do podcasts. There's you and I, of course, and there's very big podcasts. You have like the 90s baby shows, 3 shots of tequila, and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like we're still kind of scratching the surface. Like we're still bubbling. You see what I mean? So while it's still bubbling, and you want to start a podcast, I would say get started, even if you have to use your phone at first. My first episode was done with my phone.
Mm.
I just put it on the table and I was talking to my brother, and that was the first podcast.
Yeah.
So like just start. Your first episode will be crap.
Oh God, yes. It's like no, but like this is the thing. What I would simply say is doing a podcast is most probably one of the cheapest ways you can get into it. And like if you want to sort of go at a higher quality, like higher quality audio, like okay, you can like spend like £1,000, and like you are like, I mean, you're rocking audio with some of the biggest podcasts in the world.
Yeah.
And like this is the thing where it differs for say YouTube, where okay, you can go, okay, I'm on YouTube. Yeah, I want to get some of the best equipment. Okay, yeah, you know what? That camera this person's using, that's anything from 3.5 just for the body. 3.5 what? £3,500. And like then you put a lens in it, that's another grand on top.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it can add up quite quickly. But like with podcasts, it gives you a lot more opportunity and a lot more flexibility.
Yeah.
Yes, just starting out. Yeah.
And you can have a long podcast. Podcast can be 2 hours. It could be 1 hour. It could be 20 minutes. It's just knowing where your sweet spot is. There's a podcast I listen to called 30 Minutes with the Perrys. Each episode is 30 minutes. And that's it.
It's like 30 minutes. Yeah, okay. Oh, that was nice. Sweet.
Yeah.
That
still pick me up.
Yeah, like, oh, I like that. I like that.
So find your sweet spot.
Yeah. So what do you think your future is going to be with your podcast? What direction do you feel you want to take it?
To just keep talking to interesting people. People that I always think about my audience first. And what my audience will find useful. And that's why I invited a finance person to come onto the podcast, because my audience being primarily creatives, creative entrepreneurs, I think about the skills that they would need to solve their problems. And finance is a very big skill that is needed. And it's just to keep talking to people that I haven't covered before. And also to just expand it and have it like it's on YouTube as well. So just kind of growing that community on YouTube as well. So my primary goal right now is to build a community, and just take it from there and ask them what they need and meet their needs. That's really it.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yes. What can I say? Now, like randomly, I'm gonna have to ask this question. Now, I'm curious because like you seem to be a chap with quite an active imagination.
Yes.
Now, if there was a film you could remake, okay, you can have one human in the film, but the rest of the cast are Muppets. Which film would that be?
Oh, that's a very good question. Oh, one film, one human, the rest of Muppets.
What you can remake?
Remake. That's a hard one. That's really hard. I have to really look back to my childhood. One thing, what really comes to mind is Fraggle Rock.
Everything's the same. Yeah.
I remember Fraggle Rock growing up. I don't remember much about it. I just remember the characters.
Yeah.
So it's not really about remake. It's not about reinventing the wheel for me. It's about
Okay.
looking at what existed before and expanding on it. So if there's a human, like I would take Fraggle Rock, expand on the characters, and see how a human. I don't even know if humans were involved before. I don't remember, but I remember them being Muppets, right? Yeah. And like take Fraggle Rock, yeah, and just find out how I can incorporate a human being in their world.
Okay.
And be like, okay, either the human turns into one of them, or they're actually in the human world and they're stuck somewhere, and this human is maybe the villain, for example. Maybe the human wants to basically he finds them and he wants to experiment on them or do find out more about them, or there's something about them that he wants to like unlock. He might be the human can be the villain, and it's them trying to escape his lab, for example.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, and he can the human can have like a cat that chases them or something like that. It'll be fun. It's not going to be dark. It's not going to be like Michael Bay or something. It'll still be fun, but the human will be the bad guy. I like films where humans are kind of getting their comeuppance. So any chance to make humans the bad guy?
Wow. No problem. Interesting. Like you see, now, this is the thing. If it was me, like just one scene, what comes to mind is Platoon, right? Have you seen Platoon?
Platoon?
Yes, the movie.
I don't know if I have.
Oh, you haven't?
Google it.
Yeah. Okay. With Platoon, there's a scene where basically the guy's trying to run, get back to the helicopter, and then basically the Vietnam troops are shooting at him, and as he runs back, he gets shot. And all I've got to say is Charlie Sheen, being on the helicopter, running, basically trying to get his buddy coming back, and it'll be Kermit the Frog running hands up like this. Bit by bit getting shot.
That's hilarious.
That would be my sort of Muppet scene. One of my Muppet scenes, yes.
If it was specifically the Muppets,
yeah,
I would take a gangster film,
okay,
and turn it into and make it Muppets. So it'll be something like what gangster? Like, okay, maybe The Usual Suspects, for example, and make that Muppets, The Usual Muppets or something.
Wait, so who would be Kaiser Sose?
Ooh, Kaiser Sose.
Yeah, which Muppet would be Kaiser Sose in your imagination?
I think it would be Animal.
Animal.
Yeah. Because he's just like screaming and like just you don't know what the heck this guy is saying, and then later on he just like has really like, and you know who would voice him? Benedict Cumberbatch. Benedict Cumberbatch would voice his real voice. These fools. They thought I was an animal.
Yeah. But they don't know.
Something along those lines.
It's like, oh, you know what? I'd have went Fuzzy Bear, but you know what? Animal work. I'll give you that, man. I'll give you that because, yeah. That's waka waka, you sons of bitches. You have no.
Exactly. They won't see it coming.
Okay, no worries. Love it. Love it. Oh, there, man. That, ah, oh, you know what? I I have nothing else to say. So, with everything what's going on, would there be a book in the near future? Would we be able to add author to many of your accolades?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of the things I like. That's in my plans. Like, I have to be an author.
Okay.
I want to add author to my bio. That's one of my goals. Like,
Nice.
strategist, speaker, author. Like, I want to add that to my bio. Like, why not? And it'll be a book that that is easy to follow.
Mm.
I like books that are easy to understand. That's why I love The Brand Gap. You can read that in a couple of hours. I mean, it took me a day or two because I read slowly, but anyone else who reads at a normal speed
Just like
who finishes in a couple of hours.
right.
But I am working on something. Don't know when it will be released. But I am working on something, and it's not just branding books. I also have like non-fiction stuff too that I want to write as well, because I love my comics. I love my superhero things and stuff like that. So I am working on something along those lines as well. I've been working on it for a while, just seeing how it goes. So hopefully one day I get to release that. But we'll see.
Brilliant. Oh, have you seen well, two shows, Falcon Winter Soldier?
Mm-hmm. Seen that.
And now this is the real test. Have you seen Invincible?
Yep. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. It's so good. I'm tempted. I am absolutely tempted to get the graphic novel of Invincible. So I might get it after, because at the time of recording this, tomorrow is the last episode of the season.
Yes.
So I'm so curious and like about the plots that I might just get the graphic novel.
I'll put it this way, I've jumped ahead. No, like this is the thing. I've like basically, because I wanted to get to know the characters better.
Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite character from like watching the TV show, I have to say it, Battle Beast. I was like, just the whole sort of like his swagger. He's like, just like, and it was just like, this isn't worth my time.
Wasted my time, didn't you?
Like, and then when you see Invincible literally like looking back at him, like going, I can't beat this guy. I really can't. Trying to crawl away.
Yeah.
I've never seen that happen in any.
Yeah.
So like, Battle Beast is my guy. All I've got to say is the cartoon, they kind of like, I think they've updated some characters sort of attitudes and personalities. So it's like, I think if you've read the actual comic or anything like this, it's going to be different. I'm not too sure how it's the same, but it's going to be different. So
yeah,
sure where they're going to take it. But fingers crossed, it'll get a second season. Third, like, no, I need more of that. And I'm also same thing. Buy the graphic novel. It's a book.
Yeah, can't wait. Can't wait to watch it. And I did enjoy Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yes.
Mainly because of the narrative of the story that they were telling. Like, it wasn't in terms of how it ended. The last episode was okay, but like my favorite episode was the one where the one with the least fighting. Actually, is when they were doing they were spending more time together and they were talking about like, you know, social issues. And like, as a black person, if you're a black person and you're into comics, or you're not into comics, Falcon and Winter Soldier, it's very like, it's very current. And like covers a lot of like our attitudes towards like, you know, leadership and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I was quite surprised about that one.
I would say it negotiated many of the sort of current topics very well.
Yeah.
The reason why the show feels like very rushed, they were meant to have in it they like this like flag smashers.
Yeah.
were meant to add like a virus to the world.
Yeah.
So they had to cut that out for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So like that's the reason why it didn't like match up.
Yeah.
But like what I'll simply say, the way they've handled it, I think they did it well. It's not by all means, it's not perfect. And like anyone goes, yeah, but I think it's a case of when they do the movie, which they've announced, I think it's going to be a very, I think they'll be able to get better. I think they'll be able to refine it more. And like, yeah, if like the characters don't like, well, if Sam doesn't punch out Bucky for basically making moves on his sister, be like going, yeah, just like Sam, you're looking at your future brother-in-law. He's like, what?
Imagine.
Yeah, well, you know what? That would be funny. That would be funny.
Yeah.
But holds great promise, I say. Holds great promise.
I think so.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I'm definitely going to get you on the future. Like, yeah. Talk all things comic books. Yeah.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Now, I've got to say, you have been absolutely great today. A superstar.
Thank you very much.
No worries. No worries. How can the lovely people out there find you in the great beyond?
You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. My username is _Demi Harper on Twitter and Instagram. And you could just search Demi Harper on YouTube or the Unstuck podcast on YouTube, which is also on Spotify and all your favorite streaming platforms. So that's the Unstuck podcast. And we talk about helping creators pursue their passion and giving them the practical tips and advice they need in order to launch their ideas and carry on doing them. So you can catch me on my podcast and on my socials. And yeah, my DMs are open. So give me a shout.
Superb. Demi, thank you once again. Brilliant.
No problem. Thank you.
No worries at all. By all means, please search up Demi and get on his podcast. He's a great guy. And I look forward to having him back on in the future.
Awesome.
God, yes, I swear to God, yeah. Even if it means I have to drag you through each and every single Marvel film.
Look, I am always ready to talk Marvel and theories, and I am ready to nerd out. So
yeah, you know what? Like, hey, you never know. Demi might be on this podcast every single week for the next He doesn't know what he's opened himself up to.
Okay, God.
Oh, yeah. You can pray, but you can't get away.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. I'd like to say thank you, my friends, my life warriors. Please stay safe, stay well, be awesome, be excellent, be fantastic, be all the positive bees you can be in this world and then some. Thank you very much for watching. And have a great day. Bye-bye. And we are